everyone, and welcome to my Diablo 3 guide here today about how to play a Blessed Shield Crusader if you do not have the Falcon's Foot. So I've come across a build here. I liked, or if you watched my last video about the Crusader, I went over how to build what I thought was a pretty strong build for the Fire Crusader. And I had someone ask me when I was playing with them later on, well, why do you choose the hammers over Blessed Shield? Don't you like using that skill? And I thought, well, yeah, but a lot of Crusaders have this idea, and at least I did, that you shouldn't really use Blessed Shield unless you have Falcon's Foot, and preferably like a check-in board to make it bounce more often. And I've since experimented with it and come up with a different build that I think I'm going to make a really bold claim here and say that I think I've found a build that might actually be stronger than the Falcon's Foot and the J-Board Crusader while still using Blessed Shield. Now, to be fair, we're cheating. We are using a J-Board. This makes our Blessed Shield bounce to 6 additional enemies, but we're not using a Falcon's Foot. So those shield throws are still costing us Wrath. But instead we're using the two-handed sword Maximus, which has creates a giant demonic slave, but more importantly, it ties you to that demonic slave by a chain of fire, and the fire chain actually deals some very heavy damage. It can crit up to 4 million damage, and it ticks every about half second, so it's very high DPS. What I mean by that is, like, yeah, you can hit for more than 4 million damage with your shield or with your with other abilities, but can you do it every half a second for the 15 seconds that the demon's up? Arguably, like, this ability is better DPS than any other ability that the Crusader currently possesses, and this is what we use to take down elites and rift bosses. It's really effective, and I think it's actually more effective than just standing there and spamming Falcon's or spamming Blessed Shield with Falcon's Foot, because the Blessed Shield doesn't bounce off anything else if it's just a single target, so you're really only hitting that thing for 3 million damage every time you throw the shield, and as you're only hitting it as fast as you can throw the shield. So whereas with when you would use two-handed sword Maximus, the fire chains are hitting it for 4 million every single half a second, and you're able to do other abilities on top of that to even add more damage. So going through the build here really quickly, our primary is Justice with Crack. Simply, the reason for this is this gives us range, and this gives us pretty heavy damage, and it allows us to hit multiple targets. All around 3 great things you want when you're trying to build up Wrath. Plus, it hits pretty hard. It hits a lot harder than the other abilities you could take, except maybe Slash. But against Slash, you have to be up close and personal. And when you're already using Blessed Shield, you're standing back at range anyway. You may as well have a primary that can build Wrath for you from range as well. So that way you don't have to engage enemies up close and personal necessarily for most of the fight. This really helps you in higher torments like Torment 4, Torment 5, where you're standing at range and you're just avoiding a lot of damage because you're not there to get hit. So that's our first ability. Nice, easy, simple. I like it a lot. Bombardment is our second ability. Unlike our previous build where I used Impactful Bombardment, this time I'm using Annihilate. So what Bombardment does is drops a bunch of stones that hit for 570% of your weapon damage within about a 12-yard range, and each impact now, when we add the Annihilate rune, has a 100% critical hit chance. So if you saw my last video, when I used Impactful Bombardment and crit, it would hit everything in that area for about 32 million damage, which is really heavy. All right, that was amazing. But Annihilate drops about 5 stones, and each stone hits for about 8 million. So now we're looking at 40 million damage. So we just added 8 million damage to an ability if every stone hits the same target. When you're thinking, well, yeah, but this is just random. It's just going to hit everything within a 12-yard impact zone. Yes, but not if you can clump everything up. It'll hit everything at the same time, or if there's only one target, it'll just keep hitting the same target over and over and over. Can you see where we're going with this? That's right. If you clump up an elite pack on you, or you just get a rift boss by itself, now you're able to deal 40 million damage straight to the face with bombardment and get it back. So that's pretty cool. Also, it's really great for wiping up elite packs that you can clump around you. How do we get them clumped up around us? Provoke. I use Hit Me for the 50% increased block chance because being able to block in the higher torments is extremely helpful. You can save a lot of damage that way. And since you're basically drawing big nasty things right into your face, you definitely want to take as little damage as possible when doing that. We're using Blessed Shield and we're using the Fire Rune Combust. So we have a 33% chance to explode on each shield has, or when the shield bounces at a 33% chance to explode on impact. For 270% fire damage. This works really well with the fact that we have a Cinder Coat on. So what's happening now is we've reduced the resource cost for fire skills by 30%, plus in our Paragon points, we've taken it down another 10%. So instead of costing us 20 Wrath, the Blessed Shield only costs us 12 Wrath. And then with our J-board, Blessed Shield is now bouncing to 6 additional enemies. So it originally bounces to 3. Now it bounces to 6 more. So we're bouncing between 9 different enemies. We have a 33% chance that every time it bounces, it blows up for 270% fire damage. It's only costing us 12 Wrath to hit 9 enemies for 340% plus 250% of our block chance for damage. So what you're looking at is crits between 6 to 7 million damage, fire explosions for about 2 to 3 million damage on 9 enemies for 12 Wrath. We're working with about 100 Wrath. You could certainly get this up if you took Paragon points to improve it, or if you had some gear that improved your Wrath. But that's a really good way. That's very, very, very efficient way to spend your Wrath and deal damage. Blessed Shield without a Jekin board is doable, but it's really not as efficient as if you don't have a J board. I would really recommend you go back to Hammer. Hammer only costs 10 Wrath, and if you put a Fire Rune on Hammer, now you're dealing you're throwing hammers up for 6 Wrath a hammer, and you're still able to hit for about 6 to 7 million damage. So I would really recommend, if you don't have a J board, go the hammer route. Much better, much more efficient. But since we do have a J board, why not? Why not use Blessed Shield? Akrat's Champion with Rally. Rally is probably the best ability Akrat's Champion, or the best rune for Akrat's Champion, especially when you're using something like Bombardment. So every time we deal damage, 50% chance to reduce our cooldowns by 1 second. This goes really well with Bombardment, because Bombardment has a 60-second cooldown, but since we're throwing a lot of hammers, we're hitting 9 enemies every time, plus our fire chains for Maximus is ticking every half a second. We're taking off huge chunks of our cooldowns when we pop Akrat's Champion. And lastly, I use Laws of Justice. My gear is such that I'm missing some pieces of resistance, namely like on my belt and on my shoes. I could definitely get some resistances. I could get resistance maybe on rings or amulet. I don't have them there. If you had more resistances, I would switch over to Laws of Valor. But the nice thing about Laws of Justice with the Decaying Strength rune is that every time an enemy attacks you, their damage is reduced by 15%. This stacks to a maximum of 60%. So even though the active effect for Laws of Justice only lasts, 5 seconds? Let's say it's gone 4 seconds, right? And an enemy smacked you like 3 or 4 times. Well, now they're dealing 45% less damage to you. Well, if they hit you on the 4th second that active effect is up, the active effect will go down a second later, but it'll be 5 seconds after that they'll still be doing 60% less damage to you. Now, this may not mean a lot when a mob's just swinging for you on white damage, but on Torment 4 or Torment 5, when something drops an Arcane, and each Arcane sentry is hitting you for 60% less damage, that makes a really big difference on your ability to use Provoke and Bombardment. So this is a very strong survival tool in higher torments. For our passive skills, we're using Heavenly Strength because we have to use Maximus and it's a 2-handed sword. We used Lord Commander because we're using Bombardment, and taking 35% of our cooldown off Bombardment is excellent. We can get this back up at this plus Akrat's Champion allows us to cast Bombardment twice on an elite pack if necessary, or definitely twice on a boss fight. We use Hold Your Ground because A, dodge is almost completely useless for a Crusader, and B, 15% increased block chance is great because we take less damage, but more importantly, it ups our damage on Blessed Shield. Okay? I'm going to show a little demonstration of that in a second, but this is really important. Like, this will up your damage by about 1,000,000 on Blessed Shield throws when you pop on Hold Your Ground. And then lastly, Finery, because you arguably can't get a better strength boost for your Crusader from one single talent. It's just, it's a no-brainer. All right, so let's show you the difference here. Oh, and I should want to show you my crit chance right now is about 40.9%. My critical hit damage is about 429%. I don't have a lot of area damage yet, and my attack speed's pretty slow because I'm using a two-hander. But again, we're throwing shields that hit 9 things almost instantaneously, and our Justice hits multiple things. So we're really kind of focusing on hitting multiple targets. Plus, attack speed does nothing for the rate of a tick on our fire chains. So let's go to let's go find some enemies here in Fields of Misery. And what I'll do is show you the damage difference between when we do and do not have Hold Your Ground on. So let's put this on Wrathful, like something that doesn't impact our damage, right? All right, so we're on Wrathful. I'm going to come out here and attack a target. Kind of already cleared it just a little bit to make sure they didn't spawn and instantly get barbecued. We are on Torment too. All right, just so you're aware of the damage output. So there you go. We're hitting for about 5 to 6 million damage crits. Now look at our fire chains going off there. Just insane amounts of damage. 4 or 5 million damage crits when it goes off. Just love that. Look at this fire chains damage. I don't even have to attack this thing. Fire chains just kills it for me. Fantastic. The demon itself only hits for about 500,000, but fire chains just awesome. Anyway, sorry. The blessed shield damage. Look at that. 3, 6 million. All right, so now that's cool, but let's put, instead of taking Wrathful, let's put Hold Your Ground back on. So you saw about 5 to 6 million damage crits with our Blessed Shield without Hold Your Ground. Put it back on, and now we're hitting for upper 6s. There's that was actually an explosion damage from the fire chains. And there's a 7 million damage crit. There's a 7 million damage crit. So you can see we've upped our damage by 1,000,000 just from this one ability. So we're not only way more survivable, but we're dealing more damage. Plus, in case you're watching, you're able to see that the shield is bouncing like all over the place. It's incredible. So watch my Wrath pull down here. I've got 100 Wrath. Just watch how little it goes down when I'm trying to wipe this pack of Torment 2 mobs. Yeah. Like, I'm not killing them super fast, but let's say, like, no, I'm not just, I would use things other than my Blessed Shield. I can use the fire chains and just not attack at all. So this build is extremely efficient at Wrath. But what I do want to point out about this is, like, alright, so did you see that throw with the Blessed Shield? Yeah, the Blessed Shield can hit 9 targets, but unfortunately, sometimes it just doesn't bounce to 9 targets. It'll bounce to like 1 enemy and just come right back to you, even if there's 9 enemies around you. It's really kind of annoying. So you want to, like, if like right there, it just bounced that one guy instead of bouncing over to the keyboard and it just bounced right back to me. It's annoying. So it's something you want to be aware of, and that's another good reason why we want to use our Maximus, even with a J-board. Which arguably makes the Blessed Shield much, much better. Blessed Shield is still somewhat unreliable. It's really good at clearing white mobs, but it just is not good single target damage, and even against white mobs, it can kind of backfire. But since we have the keyword in here, let's show you a fight against an elite here. So I'm going to try and taunt him in. Come here, sunshine. No, he's going to be a stinker. Alright. And so now we've dropped our shield. Unfortunately, I got too close to those other mobs, so my explosions are hitting everything. But I've popped Akarat's Champion. It's alright, so now what I'm able to do is stand. I'm going to get myself and the demon on either side of this key warden, and we're going to tick with the fire chains damage. And look at his health. Like, he started out with 167 million health, and he's dead. And look, we got a legendary. So it's pretty, this build is just insane for how, and look at my Wrath. Like, I killed a 167 million damage target, and I basically didn't spend any Wrath. So pretty awesome. This build is really great for killing things. As you see, I'm on Torment too, and I'm just running around just barbecuing everything. I find it really effective, but that's because, again, we have a Jekron board. If you don't have a Jekron board, I would really recommend you try my fire build that uses Blessed Hammer instead of Blessed Shield. But since we do, if you do get a J board, definitely try this build out. It's just insane. It's just incredible. And you saw that, like, even with all those mobs, even with all those targets, bombardment's dropping down there for 8 million damage a tick, and it's hitting like 5-6 times. It's incredible. If you're wondering how to get a J board easily, what I found really effective, I got my Jekken board in about 600 shards on my Crusader. The way I did that was Kadala. Go to Kadala if you and just spend every shard, every blood shard that you can possibly have. Spend it on buying shields. Shields are an amazing value, and you should always buy them on a Crusader if you're going for the J board. Because, I mean, you can't get them on anything other than a Crusader. You can't get Crusader shields on anything other than a Crusader. But even if you don't have a Crusader right now, but you're thinking about making one, you know, don't start gambling for stuff like, oh, well, maybe I'll want like a storm shield, or maybe I'll want some other type of shield, like the lidless, or like the wall of man, or whatever else you might go for. Just go make a Crusader, get him to 70, save all your shards up, and the minute he's 70, when he's still wearing like yellow garbage gear, just start buying shields out the wazoo. Kadala will rain legendaries on you. I got in about 600 shards, I got 7 legendary shields, and of course one of them being the J board, and I got a pretty good J board. So that's my advice on how to do it. I only have fire damage on this build from my Maximus and my Cinder coat. If I switch some things around, I would definitely put on these Warzician arm guards, get myself a little more fire damage. But right now I'm using, I'm on a higher torment build, so I'm using Oghilds for the 15% damage boost against elites and the 15% damage reduction there. Plus I have 10% from my Blackthorns, and I have immunity to those 3 effects there for the 3 monster ground effects. Plus I have a Stone of Jordan that I'm actively re-rolling. So once I get that right, I'll be able to put it in another. I'll have over a 50% boost to elite damage with this build, and you can just imagine the fire chain crits then. So really, this is an awesome build. You don't need a Gyrfalcon's foot to make this work. You just need a J board, and J boards are actually pretty easy to come by. I really hope you guys like it. I really hope you guys have fun playing with this build, and let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you've tried it out, and let me know what you're doing on your Crusader, and if you enjoy it. I really hope this I really hope this helps you. I really hope this guide helped you, and if it did, definitely drop a like and leave a comment. By the way, I should probably find out what sword this is before the video ends, right? Nice little bonus. And boom, Thunder Fury, Blessed Blade of the Windseeker. What more can you ask for? Pretty awesome, right there on camera. Anyway, guys, hope you have a good night, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.